Hello and a very warm welcome to one and all present here. This is Laksh Mittal joining from India, and this masterclass episode is brought to you by Requirum. Our vision at Requirum is pretty simple. It's to onboard the next million enthusiastic users to the Web3 evolution. And that is why we bring to you this one of a kind masterclass transitioning into Web3. The world is heading towards a very closed ecosystem. Let it be in any industry. All industries are coming together some or the other place to build communities. And who is at their forefront? It's Web3. Web3 is all about building communities through the power of decentralization, blockchain, and the best part, you. With this, I bring to you today's event, powered by Requirum, transitioning into Web3. But before we enter into what is the event about and who is joining us for our masterclass, let me tell you something about what Requirum does. Web3 is a new internet, and it's for anyone and everyone who wants to be a part of an ecosystem which is efficient, which is transparent, autonomous, and for you. This is where Requirum steps in. And we help event attendees discover Web3 jobs at professional events like where conferences, webinars, masterclasses like these, and event offline meetups from various industries. In simple, Requirum connects Web3 professionals, Web3 companies with Web3 professionals at Web3 events. Today, we have 75 plus companies offering a plethora of jobs to all of you. We're also providing NFT minted certificates for whosoever is attending this event from the start till the end. So for having a unique memory for today, log on to the Requirum website, join the event, log on to the discussion room, and put your wallet addresses in the chat box. This is how you'll be able to get your NFT minted certificates. Not only that, I'd like to thank our sponsors also for today, which is Unifarm, and our partners, Machinations. With that, let me introduce you the speaker for today. The speaker for today is Alexander, and he's a person who's very enthusiastic and has always been into understanding games, computers, and how the whole development works. And that is where his experience in these fields has made him work for a company in game development, and he works as a game consultant over there. So let's welcome Alexander Coles from Machinations. Alexander.
Yeah, hello everyone. So as
Hi,
explained,
Alexander.
hi. Yeah, so I work as a design consultant with Machinations. Previously, I was working as a blockchain consultant, raising money for blockchain projects, writing their white papers, and advising on the tokenomics strategy. So currently, I'm working with Machinations, which is a SaaS company. So we provide software as a service solutions to traditional gaming studios from AAA standard to indie studios, and we also offer our services to Web3.
Awesome. Alexander, so this sounds really great. Like I sometimes feel when we started off gaming, like when gaming started, we played Road Rash, we played Super Mario, Contra, even GTA, right? And now even we can play things in the metaverse, right? Correct. So somewhere I learned that everything involves mathematics, physics. Like if an object is flying from this position to this position, there is a certain time fraction over there that has to be maintained. And all of this was actually done using major large Excel sheets, right? And lots of standard old school traditions, right? So would you like to tell me how Machinations actually understood this problem, how they came up with a solution, and how this actually came into play? Would you like to, shed some light over there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Machinations was founded by a man called Joris Dormans. He's an author in game design. He's quite famous in game design, actually. He did a PhD at the University of Amsterdam, and then using his PhD, which was written more just over 10 years ago,
Right.
There were the founders of a company, Mihai and a few other people, that came together, and essentially they took what was published as the PhD and they put it as a piece of software, as an interactive piece of software. And you asked me a question of what is the value using this?
Exactly. So, see, we actually know that we love playing games, right? But what goes behind it is actually very complex. So, how has Machinations made it very simple for game designers?
Okay, sure, I understand. So that's essentially when it comes to testing the systems of a game and running the simulations, the traditional methods of testing games has been using Excel spreadsheets and Python coding. So just imagine that if you are making a game and you want to know what is going to happen in 200 days, 500 days, what's going to happen to the balance of your economy, and those other
Yeah.
systems that go on, say, for example, if there is a boss fight or a leveling system, all these things are very complex. And ideally, what you want is a balanced game, a game that keeps the player engaged, is interactive, and also a game that the economy isn't just going to blow up. Because obviously, we saw what
Correct.
happened with Axie Infinity. So a situation like with Axie Infinity, where the whole economy crashed. Yes, their economy is linked to crypto because it's a crypto game. However, they could have prevented a lot of the problems that they did have if in the construction of that economic system they had more drains. Yeah. So
Okay.
essentially, this is why Machinations is a good tool to use, because you can simulate and predict what is going to happen more efficiently than using spreadsheets and Python.
Right, definitely. So, as much as I understand, it's basically solving problem for various companies. It's not only about game design. It's about how a company can know when they want to vest again, like the vesting period should start again in the economy, in their own economy, or it should continue as it goes. So to stop the burst or the move of their particular economy. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. You
Exactly.
can actually prevent the bust of the economy.
Exactly.
You can see what's going to happen to the token in the future.
Right. So, Alexander, why don't you tell us like how simplified it is? Like, would you like to share screen and tell us that how a normal gamer, like let's take a beginner like me, okay, if I would
Yeah.
want to log on to Machinations and see how simply can I make a simple design, like if someone can earn tokens and sell it normally, and then continue the whole cycle. Would you like to go ahead with that?
Okay, sure. I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Okay, so this is the Machinations diagram. Machinations is a object-based language, which means we're using these different objects. So we've actually got 11 objects, and then we've got these other connecting points. So the first object is a source. You can think of a source as your starting point. So in this instance, this is a simple model of a Web3 economy. So I'll just go through this diagram first. So the player opens their computer, phone, starts to play the game. And then they are earning tokens. These tokens go into a pool. The pool could be like your bag or wherever the tokens accumulate. It's a storage area. And now, why the Web3 economies are more complex is because we have a marketplace. In traditional gaming, we don't have a marketplace where players can sell their in-game items. But in Web3, we have that, which is another layer of complexity. So the player has a choice. They can, for example, reinvest their tokens and buy NFTs, and then they've got more NFTs. And by having more NFTs, maybe they can earn more tokens. Yeah. So this is a feedback loop right here. Or the player has the option, they can take the tokens out from the game, they can sell it on a marketplace such as OpenSea, and then these tokens, that's going to have a price, yeah? The price in crypto, because they're selling their token, which might be written on the Solana blockchain, so that they then receive Solana. There's also something called player choice. So in this whole cycle here, what we're trying to simulate and understand is what is the chance of a player making a certain decision. And when they make that decision, what is the influence of their decisions over a period of time on the economy of a game? So we've got the source, which is the starting point, as I said, a drain, a pool, and this one here, this is a gate. And why Machinations is special is because if you want to test true randomness, which is called Monte Carlo simulation, Monte Carlo simulation, of course, comes from Monte Carlo, where all the casinos are, because when you roll a dice, that's true randomness. But to try to simulate true randomness in Excel is incredibly difficult. Most people don't do it. But with Machinations, you can simulate Monte Carlo just with a drag and drop. It's quite easy. So for example, I can label things here and I can select the distribution. So for this object right here, I can do Monte Carlo, true random, or I can do deterministic. So deterministic means, for example, if you've got 10 tokens coming in, I can say that 4 are going to go this way and 6 are going to go this way. And then it will always do the same thing. And Monte Carlo would be just randomized. And the last thing that's quite important to know, just for teaching you the basics here, is the converter. So of course, if you're taking tokens and then you're converting them into Solana, then you would be using a converter right here. And just to finish off with this, so why Machinations is special is because what we can do is we can simulate what's going to happen many days ahead in the future in a short space of time. So what I'm going to do now is each of these steps is a player day. So one step is one player day. And if I select 100, this is 100 player days. I can click here, which is called batch plays. And what this is going to do is it's going to simulate what's going to happen in 100 days. And I can see that the earnings for the Ethereum, it's going up quite a bit. Yeah. And so is the total NFTs. This is obviously a very simple diagram of a Web3 economy, but the whole point is if you want to test different variables and parameters for balancing the game, you can just change certain values. So like, for example, I can click here. This is a formula of D3. So I can say there's going to be 2 and not 3, or there can be 10. And then I can run another simulation and I can see how that performs. So that's the whole idea. Does that make sense?
Okay. So, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Alexander. Like, this seems very intriguing, I guess, because see, we definitely know how to play games, but what goes behind it is, a very complex structure, right? Which many game designers actually feel very overwhelmed while using more traditional products. And somewhere I feel, while we use Machinations, it gives a very interactive feeling. It has structures over there, small cubes and triangles, which people can, relate to rather than relating to code, okay, and numbers of Excel sheets, right? So that is how I guess it definitely helps out in creating the whole system very interactive and human centric, okay. So
Yeah.
my next question actually involves around how you actually came into game design, because as much as I know, you did your, like you have a background in investment and business and psychology and social studies, but then how did you jump and come from that zone of business to directly to becoming a game design consultant? How does that procedure go? Like, how did it happen?
Did it happen? Okay, yeah. So that's a good question. So yeah, just to summarize, so a number of years ago, my main background was in investing. Actually, I started in crypto in 2017. I was just an investor at that time. I also had a mining rig as well, so I shared the mining
Oh
rig with
wow.
my mates. Yeah, and we were mining Ethereum and Bitcoin. I, I remember the price around that time. Sorry, actually, we started 2015 for the mining, but then for the
Okay.
investing, I started 2017. And at that time, I think the price was around like $500 for a Bitcoin or something. Uh,
Ah,
anyway, if I try to make a long story short, How I came
Correct.
into this is it was a process. So from mining to investing, and obviously with an investing mindset, you are analyzing and you're trying to choose the best investment, right?
Correct.
So I think that process, because obviously I experienced the bear market from 2017 to 2020,
Okay.
so I went through that process. So like with now how the market is, I can understand it and I'm not panicking or anything. But anyway, the point is to go from the in business and investment side to the design side. Well, during my childhood, I was a gamer. I played
Oh,
lot of games,
okay.
FPS, MMORPG, RPG
Okay.
games, you name it. Like I played most things. So the thing is, if you are like a bit of a nerd like me and you played a lot of games, then you will understand the gaming systems. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
Correct. So
So
like, yeah, yeah. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So I think that's like how I came into it. And then recently with Machinations, I got the job here because my previous job, I actually had my own startup, which didn't
Okay.
work out. Long story made short, other people in the company got offered jobs for quite a high
Nice.
salary elsewhere, and they decided that they didn't want to take the risk of continuing a startup. They would rather have a salary, so they left. I wasn't going to do
Right.
things on my own, and then I got
Okay.
offered a job with Machinations because I was headhunted.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Like, see, let's go step by step here. So, my first question actually comes around, like, see, definitely you have that investing and business background, right? And then you already had that mindset of a gamer. So you knew how things actually work, economies can actually work. So here somewhere I feel, that's a very value added point where having a proper background in understanding how investment works and how economies can run can help you become a game design consultant. That's very definite. Like I certainly feel that you actually chose the best course for yourself while coming, building your career, right? And whoever's listening to this, they should also understand that they should know what skills they have, what they can do, what they have done throughout their career, even when they were kids, even when you were playing games, your brain is running like 24 times for various things, correct? So I supposedly, see a very good, structure of how you have built yourself from starting as, a game lover who, plays a lot of games as a kid, then, doing their career in business and then landing in game design, right? So first question, like, what kind of games did you play? Like anything which you would, want to say, which actually, like, blew you off your mind, like something which was very intriguing, very
Oh,
amazing for you.
yeah. So one of my favorite games I used to play when I was a kid was Warcraft. Yeah,
Oh,
I
Warcraft. Yeah.
played Warcraft, Reign of Chaos, Warcraft, The Frozen Throne, and I loved that game. It was
Okay.
so good. And then finally, they released World of Warcraft. So it was taking the game that I already understood from looking from above as an RPG,
Exactly.
with the strategy elements and the online playing, and then to World of Warcraft, where it's like, oh, okay, I can be one of those characters, and then I see it from a whole
Right.
different perspective. And obviously, World of Warcraft is one of the biggest and most successful MMORPGs out there, and I loved it. I was so like engaged in the game. Um, yeah, and it was obviously a great company as well because it was owned by Blizzard, which is now Activision Blizzard.
Right. Right. So, see, tell me this, like, see, let's say there are usual games out there, like, let's say GTA is there, or Super Mario, or even, FPS games or TPS games as well. So, like, regular games that are out there currently, are they, like, easily compatible with Machination software, or, how these companies, can use Machinations as a product, okay, to enhance what they're already doing, okay, for their customers, for their users. So how can Machinations actually add value to these old companies as well? Is there a possibility, or like how does it work?
Yeah, 100%. So as I was saying, we work from triple A
Okay.
games to like your very small projects. So for these traditional games that are out there that are not on the blockchain, we do work with
Okay.
them. And the value that we see is because if you are a team of people and you're creating a game, the thing is, not all game designers and creators are mathematical. For a lot of them, they don't
Okay.
like working with spreadsheets. So to use Machinations, which is an object-based language, which is interactive, it's a picture. A picture says 1,000 words, right? So it's very easy to communicate across what you're working on, the vision, and then talk with your team about any like issues you have. So for these traditional gaming studios, with the games that you talked about, like Super Mario Kart, etc., yeah, they do find it useful because it reduces the production time. Because time is money, and if you can create a game quicker, actually, we found from a survey of over 200 current customers that there was
Okay.
an average saving of 20%.
Of time.
Yeah, of time. Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay. That's super, like that's super useful for anyone who's trying to even develop tokenomics for their current companies, right? Because every company who's currently running into Web3 should have a very strong tokenomics, right? And if they don't have a proper tokenomics, how will they, run their liquidity pool, and how will the whole, burning period, or the value of the token, how it matters, can be actually analyzed through Machination. So I'm totally on the same page where I believe Machinations can be really helpful for even not only game designers but startup companies also in Web3 who are trying to build their tokenomics. Correct. So here I have a question on tokenomics actually. Let's say there's a normal random company who's wanting to build tokenomics, right? So first question: what platform, okay, should they choose to build the tokenomics? Like it should be on the Solana network, Ethereum network, or Binance network? Okay, so how to choose a network for their own token? Somewhere I feel it depends upon the industry they're working in, right? Like for maybe fashion related NFTs, it is a different project. Okay, for game designing, it's a different project, right? So how a person who is wanting to build a tokenomics should first choose a basically network on which they need to build the first layer network. So would you like to tell something about that?
Yeah, sure, sure. So a previous project that I was working on, it's a project called Division 6, which is the fastest growing esports academy in the UK. And for what their project, they were going to have a process of microtransactions. So if you are having a
Okay.
lot of microtransactions in the game, then you need to consider, are you going to keep it on chain or off chain? Because if you want to keep everything on chain, then to keep the fees low, you need to consider doing perhaps Solana. I, yeah.
Okay.
However, if you're going to keep things off chain, then there are other codes out there that you can use. Because I know Illuvium, in my opinion,
Okay.
I think as a case study, if you're going to be doing lots of microtransactions in a MMORPG kind of game, which is what Illuvium is,
Okay.
then I would be looking at them as a case study and I would be following what they're doing. And that's the easiest thing to do, right? Is just to look at the projects out there that are successful and comparing what you're working as a project to them and seeing what they're doing, which is working, and what they're doing, which isn't working, and then taking a lesson from that. Because sometimes people do things out of tradition and because they don't
Right.
know rather than actually choosing the best thing. Because that was the most difficult thing with the project I was working with before. They were like, oh yeah, we're going to do Ethereum. And then I was asking what they're doing as a project. And I was like, well, it doesn't make any sense because if you're
Right.
using Ethereum and you're doing microtransactions, you're going to be paying so many fees. At least if you do
Right.
Ethereum, you should choose Polygon. It's to
Polygon. Right.
support it.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So, I can like, would you like to give a little more effort on making people understand what is a micro transaction? Like, is it basically a change of token or currency, or is it a change of data or running from one point to another point? Because if that people understand better what is a micro transaction, right? Then it's better for them to understand, is it like the project is good for proof of stake or proof of work? How does it work? Like, if we can, explain even microtransactions in a little more detail.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I would define a microtransaction as any kind of transaction which is like under $50. Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you look at the price of sending Ethereum or buying like a certain NFT that is using Ethereum, the cost is normally like $20 to $50, right? So if
Okay.
I'm going to send a transaction which is $20 to $50, well, I'm paying a lot of money to send that transaction. So for me, I regard that as a microtransaction. And then
Okay.
obviously any transaction which is bigger than $20 to $50, it's just a normal transaction.
Normal. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So, okay, considering that, so you say that, Solana will be more helpful to reduce the amount of gas fees, correct? Right?
Yeah.
If companies using it. So I guess somewhere Cardano also, falls under that same category, right? With low fees and, higher compatibility. What say about Cardano? ADA.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear your question. What is the?
No, like you mentioned, right? Like Solana is good for low gas fees for more microtransactions, correct? So
Yeah.
somewhere I have read that Cardano actually also has similar low gas fees, and it actually is very compatible with many transactions in the similar setting, right? So how about Cardano? Like how does that come into play?
Okay, sure. So when it comes to the whole, okay, so I think with Cardano, it's probably more appropriate for DeFi,
Okay,
the decentralized finance at the.
finance, right?
Yeah. Uh, but right now, I don't necessarily see it fitting well in with NFTs and
Okay,
gaming. And the simple
okay,
reason is because you need to think about when you create your game, if you want your players to be selling those items on an exchange elsewhere. I don't know of any big exchange that is using Cardano for
right.
NFTs, right? But whereas at least OpenSea has already said that they're going to be using Solana. Yeah.
Solana, right?
So that's another important thing that I would consider if I was working with a project. I was like, okay, what blockchain you're using? Where are your players going to be able to buy and sell the NFTs?
Right. Okay. Like that's very perfect. That's good. No, considering that, like, how does Machinations work? Like, does Machinations have a currency of its own, or is it building on NFTs like non-fungible tokens, or fungible tokens like utility tokens? How is Machinations working their community?
Sure. Uh, so Machinations as a company as a whole, we don't have our own token. We are a
Okay.
limited company. We're backed by a number of venture capitalists. We had a recent
Okay.
fundraising round. But for our customers that use our services, for the ones in Web3, I think quite a few of them, they're using Binance Chain, Solana, and
Okay.
Ethereum. So it's a mix of like those three. Because I know there's one project that we worked with, which is called V Empire, which is a card
Okay.
trading game. Uh, and yeah, I think what they're using is Solana.
Nice. Okay. So, as much as I understand, almost every kind of Web3 network is compatible with Machinations, correct? Like the
Yeah,
design.
yeah, of course, because Machinations is built on an object-based language, which is known
Right.
as a Turing-complete language. And Turing-complete language means if you think it, you can model it. Actually,
Okay.
back at my other home, I have a water bottle with the diagram of Machinations.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and that diagram is just essentially refilling the water bottle, taking a sip of water, which takes 10% out, and then
Okay.
when the value reaches obviously like zero, it's time for refill, and the whole process starts again. So actually, for Machinations, you can use it almost for anything, not just for gaming. Like I imagine it
Okay.
for the engineering world,
IoT
for
basically, right?
ship. Sorry.
Like it's basically for understanding economy of everything, right? Any business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the moment, we're just focused on gaming,
Correct.
and
It's
there's a lot
becoming
of
niche is
value.
very definite. Like having a niche
Yeah,
is
but
very
it
important.
can be absolutely, yeah. You have to focus your value on where is the most important right now, and that's where we see our value.
Right.
So yeah, essentially, if you've got any kind of blockchain game, any system, it can be modeled in Machinations.
Oh, that's definitely great. So, see, like I see that, almost every kind of network or, anyone who wants to develop even game design or any kind of economy can use Machinations, right? So, I read that you have a big community of 20,000 plus gamers, right? And people who are designing and developing. So, how did Machinations, which started on in, I guess, 2016, right? How did Machinations start building their community? Like, what is the main essence of building a community? What do you think? Like, if someone wants to build a community right now, what are the steps they should take?
Yeah. Okay. So that's quite a big question. But Machinations as a company itself started 5 years ago, and I know that process has just been like step by step. So I think for a lot of people out there, you need to consider that if you really are working on a great idea, it's going to take time. Yeah, things are not quick, especially now with the current market conditions. People are more apprehensive to invest money. They're more afraid to try new things. So I just say to the people out there, use this time to learn, develop, and refine the idea that you have. So when the sun comes out again, you are ready to go. Yeah.
Right.
So for growing the community, it's just about having a number of different platforms like Twitter, Discord. I think these are probably some of the biggest in Web3. Those two, to have a media presence through like YouTube. This is also helpful, and if you can create partnerships with different YouTubers who can maybe do like a webinar, almost like what we're doing now. This is a opportunity to grow your awareness.
Correct.
And then obviously when you then have more money behind you and you have some investment, I think it's good to go to different gaming events in person. Because what
Okay.
we do as a company now is we go to gaming events, and there's a lot of value to be had there because that's the opportunity where I can meet with other big projects and gaming studios out there, and they can learn a bit more about us. We can learn a bit more about them. Uh,
Right.
so yeah, all those processes.
Right. Definitely. That's really helpful. Like in simple words, if I put it there, it's basically if you add value to the community somewhere or the other, at some point your community will start building. Right? So you keep on giving value to people who are using your product, your customers. You go meet people who are in your industry. It will definitely bring back the value that you are adding to the community. Okay, that is how it goes. So here's an intriguing question, which I believe lots of companies face, and I guess you might have also questioned yourself in doing that because you mentioned about your startup, how it got disintegrated because of various aspects, correct? So what I saw was Machinations is actually working via 7 cities, okay, and has a very distributed network of people who are working in the team, right, from various places. So if someone wants to do team building, right, um, what people they should consider, how they can maintain a team which is working remotely, okay, how all of this team structure, team building can be managed. And why am I asking you this is because one, currently you're working in Machination and it has a distributed network, that is one, of people who are working with. And second, you yourself as a founder know what are the complications that come, okay, while building a startup as well, while building a team as well, while keeping the team strong, right?
Yeah.
So keeping it simple, uh, if a person is wanting to build a startup, okay, how to maintain a team, how to build a team, okay, what are your thought processes, what are your opinions on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so definitely I would say there is no I in team. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're working on a project, I've seen it happen before in my own startup. Don't think that you can do everything because you cannot do everything. Because if you try to do everything, then the value of everything becomes less.
Less.
So you have a team to delegate things to. And those
Okay.
people in the team, they've all got their own responsibilities. So the first thing is you need to have accountability in your team, because if you don't make things clear in your team with who is doing what and when it needs to be done, then what's going to happen is, first of all, things are not going to get done. Second of all, people are going to lose motivation because when things are not being done, the whole momentum of what you're working on just doesn't progress. It stops. And then maybe for some other people that are very happy and motivated to work on their own without a target in mind, they will then start to see that the other people are not pulling their weight, and then they will become frustrated, they will become angry, and then you get all sorts of problems. So I think the first thing is you need to have accountability and
Okay.
clear communication. And if you are using different platforms, like what we're using is Slack. I find Slack is
Okay.
really good. I
Okay.
actually feel bad that I didn't use Slack that much before. I was trying to go to Google, uh, but for me, Slack is much better because it's very easy to reference a certain conversation and talk about a topic.
Okay, that sounds pretty decent, right? Like, you should obviously acknowledge the efforts of your teammates, that accounts for accountability, and take the team ahead. Like, I suppose everyone who is in Web3 right now has heard the term Wagmi. It's always we are all gonna make it. It's not I am, gonna make it. Correct. So let's root
Yeah.
for that. That's definitely. So this brings to the to the end of our the whole webinar that we planned today. Before we end, we have a few questions from the community itself, which our team at Recurrum have found out, and let's start with that, and then we'll go into the conclusion process. Works. So let's have the first question for what the community has for you.
Okay.
Okay. How can machinations add value to blockchain gaming?
Yeah. Machinations can add value to blockchain gaming because we can bring credibility and verification to the Web3 games. Because right
Okay.
now, there's not a lot of clarity on what is a scam and what isn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know I said that quite bluntly, but essentially, people are nervous about where they put their money. So I think Machinations has a program which is called Verified by Machinations. It's a
Oh,
service that we offer. And what we will do is we will design your game, test your game, and through that process, if everything looks fine, we will obviously give you feedback if there's a problem with the game. But the point is that's an opportunity for you to refine and develop your idea and also to make your idea credible because
correct.
if what you're working on is credible, then to have the community support, to have in investment, all those things are going to be much easier. So that's a really good value to be had.
Right, and I suppose in the current running bear markets, okay, companies should actually try using products like machinations to understand what they currently need to do to maintain their economy, right?
Mm.
So why don't you tell me like how different companies can right now even use machinations to maintain their economy in the current markets in the current market.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so machinations, when we do the modeling of your game, it's not just like, okay, we've taken a model of your game, which is like a screenshot in time, and then that's it. See you later. Good luck. No.
Okay.
uh, our verification service that we offer is a ongoing commitment. So we will actually continue to monitor your game, and if there's
Right.
any issues, we might then advise and say, uh, such and such token or mechanic isn't looking good because of
Right.
ABC. So you should therefore consider this. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Axie Infinity. We
Right.
actually have a model of Axie Infinity in Machinations, and it's very easy to see why this game and the economy is flawed because the game just has inflation, and the
Okay.
inflation that it has is reliant on new people coming in to the game and not taking the money out. But as soon as
Oh,
some people take the money out, then there's a big imbalance between
okay.
the
The volume running.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if they were to design the game better, then what they would have would be some drain mechanics because we need to think of it like applicable to our world right now. Right now in
Correct.
our world, we have a lot of inflation. We have inflation because the source Yeah, I'm talking in Machinations language here. The source, which is the banks, have printed a lot of money out of thin air,
Right,
and there wasn't a drain for that money. So where did that money go? That money went into the pools, property, gas, food. So the price
right.
of those things are going up. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's almost like a real world example of inflation. And in games, you have inflation and deflation. It's the
Right.
same kind of principles.
Correct, correct. Same kind of economies run over here as well. Right, very
Mm.
very distinctively put. Like I actually didn't think it this way. But thanks for that, Alexander. Okay, let's move on to the next
Yeah, no
question.
problem.
Let's see what is the next question that we have. Yeah, how does pricing work on Machinations? Like how what is the pricing structure?
Yeah, sure. So I think I will actually share my screen for this, so it's easy
Sure,
to
sure.
see. Mm. Okay. Can you see things?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So essentially, there are two main options you have. You can do a self-service option, or you can do our verified service. So I will start explaining the self-service. So the self-service option, you can start the community plan, which is free. Your diagrams, they are public, so other people can see them. There can only be one editor, and only 3 days of history is stored. Then the next plan, the diagram is public. It's $59 a month. You have a unlimited amount of editors, so you can share it with your whole team. There's faster simulations. The history of the diagram stays for 20 days. You sync with Google Sheets, and there's a Unity plugin and API. And we are also working on a Unreal Engine plugin and API right now. That's going to be ready in the next 3 months. And then the next plan is the professional, which just gives you essentially a longer storage history, faster simulations. You get an account manager and an onboarding process. And then we will work with you. If you've got any questions, we will help you there as a support. And if you're a very big project, then we have a custom plan where we can give you training one-to-one. So that's the plans that we have when it comes to self-service, and all plans include a 14-day trial. In the trial, we do not take any credit card information, nothing like that. So what I would recommend to everyone is you actually try the 14-day trial, and the majority of people do go with this plan, which is $59 a month. And actually, with anyone that's listening to this call as well, if you do sign up for the 14-day trial, then I can try to arrange for you a demonstration with one of the other people in my team, and they can just run through with you how Machinations works. Yeah, so that's one option. The other option is actually verified by Machinations. So I'm just going to give that up for you. So with this plan, this is more of a service. And I'm just letting you know that this service that we offer here, it's not for everyone, because the thing is, this plan is more expensive. And what we're actually doing is we're using our team to build a model of your game. And all that we need from you is we need a up-to-date GDD, and a GDD is a game design documentation. So if you have your game design documentation ready, then essentially we can take what you have in words and we can translate that into a diagram and Machinations, and we can do the testing of your game. But the whole idea is we build and maintain a healthy game economy, right? Because in a highly uncertain sector of play to earn, and DAOs and AMMs, which is automatic or market makers, these things add a lot of complexity. And we're just testing these things to make sure that what you're working on as a game is secure, it's safe, and the economy isn't going to blow up. So we model systems, personas, and scenarios. I can talk about personas if we still have some time. We predict economy outcomes, and you can get it verified by Machinations seal. So you can use this seal with your white paper documentation. You can show this to investors. You can share this with your community. And I know that for the projects that have used us, having this seal does improve their image and their presence, which obviously means if you're going to be raising more money, it can help with that. And then there's a live ops. So that's what I mean by an ongoing commitment. So essentially, we will work with you every month. We will always be testing any new content before it goes into production, and we will review the economy because we have APIs and plugins, so we can monitor things and we can give you reviews. So if there's any issue that's coming up in your game, we can communicate that to you. These are the projects we've actually worked with already. So we've got Mummy.io, Star Origins, Honeylands. I'm just talking about a few of the big ones here. Blast Royale. This is like an FPS game. The Citadel, this is a spaceship game, which has got like RTS elements to it. And also Heroes of Mavia. If you search on YouTube, Machinations, Heroes of Mavia, we have a webinar with Heroes of Mavia. So you can see the value that we brought to them as a project. And also we've got V Empire. So I mentioned this earlier. This is a card game on Web3. And the value that they found with us is by using the verified by Machinations service. In their card game, they had two main playing decks before you go into all the combinations. And one of the playing decks, there was a 54% chance that you would win. Now, any kind of card game, it should be 50-50. So by working with us, they were able to then change the decks and make it fair for the players. So yeah, that's essentially the two services. You've got self-service, or you've got this other service. And if you're interested in the service, you can just go here and click verify my game, fill the form in, and then we will be in contact with you. Okay.
Yes, hi. So yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. Like the whole pricing plan, I feel it's very decent enough for all kinds of users, even if it's a company, it's an individual, how they can use Machinations, right? I seen you spoke out something called as personas, right? So just two questions.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about personas here, okay? Like yeah, we have a question already. Can you tell us about different gamer personas? And second, we'll
Sure.
go about investing. Okay, after that. So let's first go
Okay.
with personas. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, I'll just quickly share my screen again then. Right. Share screen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is the 9 types of blockchain gamers. It's some research published by Navic. Navic do work with us, and I know that they work with a few other big projects out there. Essentially, how crypto is different is because in traditional gaming, you just have this side, the players. In Web3,
Okay.
we introduced 2 new big stakeholders, which are earners and investors. So in a Web3 game, it's very complex because like people, we have different personalities. In gaming, you also have different personalities. And those personalities will have different playing behavior. And that playing behavior has an effect on the economy of that game. So for example, with Axie Infinity, you have the workers. Maybe the workers, they are in India, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, like wherever, and they are earning maybe $15 a day. So whatever money that they earn from the game, they actually take it out of the game. Yeah. And then you've got other people that are earners, which are silent investors. So maybe they have bought some tokens in the game, and they're just waiting for the value to go up. You have market speculators. So maybe the market speculators, what they're doing is they're trying to buy the top and sell the bottom, and they're just trying to make like a quick profit. And then you've obviously got the players. So maybe for these players, they don't care that much about earning money from the game, but what they do care about is the engagement and fun of a game.
Right.
And then you have the investors. So obviously for the investors, these are very different. So the entrepreneurs are going to be like the founders of a project. The early adopters, maybe they through their network, they find out who the entrepreneur is and they support the project at an early stage. And then you have the crypto whales. So obviously they buy a large amount of tokens in the beginning when it's a very cheap
Right.
price. So the point is, all these different stakeholders, they are going to have a different impact on the game. Yeah, and you can read more into the detail here about how
Okay.
each of these work. So, like an early adopter, for example, it says they might have a comparable fund liquidity volume to that of crypto whales, but they get to know about our project early and do the research well. Yeah. So the point is, if you're building a game and you want it to be balanced, then you should be aware of these different playing personas. And at Machinations, we obviously take this into account if we design any economy for someone.
Okay. That sounds pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm.
Okay, awesome. So
Yep.
this brings me to the last question that I have. Like I've seen you like Machinations as a team has gain, taken a lot of investments and funding from various institutions. It will be private, even government institutions as well, right? So
Mhm.
how should a person who is wanting to build in Web3 or even in the current scenarios, how a team should go in a step-by-step process to take investment from people like investors and VCs. So what do you think is a process that you might have followed and worked out for you, which people can even
Yep.
take lead on?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if you're when you're starting off like really early on, because I went through this process as well,
Okay.
uh, you'd be looking for grants because maybe the grants you can get is $1,000, $5,000, $50,000. Some grants go up to 100,000. Yeah. So for
Correct.
example, if you're going to be working with Polygon Matic, I know that they have a
Right.
process where you can
Yeah.
submit your application and you can get a grant from them. So really, when you start off, unless you're going to be using your own money, then you should be applying for grants where you can. And normally, what these grants they ask is a white paper, a kind of pitch deck. So the other thing is so the later stage after you do these things, you will need a pitch deck to show to venture capitalists, angel
Right.
investors, because for angel investors and venture capitalists, what they care about is not so much your white paper. I mean, your white paper is still important, but for them, what is more important is a pitch deck. And
Correct.
if you don't have a
Okay.
pitch deck, then you need to make one because it's very important. Yeah.
So, sounds amazing. So like basically everyone should start with grants and then they need to go into the first round of investments with proper strategy. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it will obviously help if you've got someone that has gone through that process before, who can act as
Right.
your consultant or advisor. Um, and that's also going to help your credibility. And your credibility is very important.
Right, right. Thank you. Like this was really great. Like the whole 1 hour that we have spent in talking about various concepts here. Not even gaming. We went to business, and then we came around gaming and how gamers are there. Then we
Mhm.
spoke about what kind of games you loved while you were a child. A kid, and how that brought up you from becoming a business from business to game design as well. Right. So what do you think? Like Alexander, how do you feel about the whole 1 hour session that we have? Any insights that you want to give, that how it felt working with Team Requiem with me? Anything you want to say? Any conclusion, last thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. I would say I quite enjoyed this because they always say that when you are a teacher, you also are a learner. So as I'm
Right.
explaining these things, I'm also refining my knowledge. So,
Correct.
it's helpful for me too. Again, obviously, when you ask these questions, it's a good opportunity for me to develop what already I know. Yeah.
So how was it working with the team, like Team Requiem? Like, how does it feel working with them?
Yeah, well, I just started working with you guys. Obviously, we have the webinar
Right.
today, and yeah,
Yeah.
I like this format. It's quite nice.
Like I feel certainly it felt very decent. It felt like a normal one-on-one conversation that we had, right? It felt very decent, very simple, very a smooth flow. How about you? Like, was it good? Like, any questions you want to put forth?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I mirror what you said. I find it easy. It's a flow, and I think that's how it should be. Because
Right.
if you've got someone just talking all the time and then no one asking any questions, then it's gonna feel like fake and scripted.
Exactly.
And I don't have any scripts today. Yeah, I just
Same
come
here.
in
Nothing
here.
is here.
Yeah, you just ask me some questions and then I talk about it and try not to ramble too much. Yeah, because I don't want to lose
Exactly.
people. So yeah.
It should be as simple as a machination software, interactive yet amusing.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes less is more, right?
Exactly. That's definitely true. So thank you so much, Alexander, for coming on board and talking to me and the community about how Machination is actually taking the lead in changing the course of understanding systems. Okay, on understanding economies, on understanding
Yeah.
on building
Mm.
economies, right? So thank you for having taking out time and coming here. I really hope everyone who listens to this, okay, gains a lot of knowledge not only around game designing but also on different aspects on building a startup, working with a team, okay, and how to choose their career also, right? Like you did. It started off with business, but now you're doing something that you love, right? So definitely, I hope it brings a lot of exposure to everyone here. Like I literally, as a person, have learned a lot, okay, and I hope everyone here also does. Any last thoughts? Any ending notes?
Yeah, as I said earlier, use this current time with what's going on in the market. Look, crypto, you have bear markets, bull markets, just like you have seasons in a year. You have winter, summer, spring, or maybe in India you have, a rainy season, dry season. The point is life is cycles. Life is growth, decay, change. So just use this time right now to develop and refine your ideas. So when the next cycle comes, you are ready to go.
Bam. Right, exactly.
Mm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alexander. Loved having you here. Let's end this conversation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Thank you. Bye bye. Well, great. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. It was a great learning for what happened in throughout the session. How we learned how different companies and even game development ecosystems can know when their economies are going to work well, or when the economies are gonna they are basically boom or burst, right? So that is definitely something which had a great amount of experience and learning that we gained from today. And I'm sure you had fun throughout the event, learning about Alexander, how how he worked on machinations with the machinations team, how he ended up working with them, starting with a background from business and jumping into game development consulting, in building economies. So definitely, it was a really great experience that I had, and I definitely hope you also had the same. Okay, it is my with immense pleasure I tell you that it was great hosting Alexander as well as you guys for this event. Do keep in mind, do let us know whoever you want us to bring for the next events as guests, as companies. We'll try to bring them on board and work with us. To remind all of you again, this event, if you have missed to see it live, okay, this will be available for a duration of 1 week, which on our platform, on which you can also apply for 200 plus opportunities. Let it be internships, jobs from all across the world from various companies. And with that, do not forget to log on to the Recording website and drop your wallet addresses in the discussion room, to avail to get the NFT minted certificates to remember this and all the events that have happened in the past as a unique memory for your learning. With that, I thank Alexander for coming today, as well as all of you guys to chiming in for today's event. This is Laksh Mittal signing off.